It's October, a time of masks, monsters, and a ton of Beetlejuice merch because of that movie. And of course, scary stories. For us, we're going to be covering a book I mentioned last year in the shorts, but again go deeper as we tackle my favorite monster once more in Moonshine. Published in 2021, Moonshine brings in the savagery of horror that is the werewolf with something you probably wouldn't expect: the Prohibition era. Yeah, much like Black Sad, Red Soul, and Highlander, you're going to get a bit of a history lesson. As the 1920s began, the American government started to enforce the 18th Amendment, which made any actions regarding alcohol illegal. Which sucks because it turned out Americans like to get loaded on the weekends, leading to bootlegging, smuggling, and the rise of crime, and helped raise up some of the most notorious criminals in American history like Al Capone. This would last for over a decade until 1933 when the law was finally repealed. However, people would return to this point in history for stories like noir, crime thrillers, and yes, even horror. How's this comic fare? Well, let's get some Moonshine and find out. Warning, spoilers. Our story begins in 1929 in West Virginia, where we find 3 government agents hunting for bootleggers and find the speakeasy, unfortunately along with the culprit, a large beast who makes quick work of the agents. As for who this was, well, for that we meet our main character, Lou Perlo, or Torpedo. Torpedo in this case is an old term for a hired gun. He was sent to Virginia on the behalf of a New York gangster by the name of Joe the Boss Masira to meet a local moonshiner by the name of Hiram Holt. He really doesn't care for the town he's staying in, a humble place by the name of Spine Ridge, though does enjoy the view as he tries to flirt with the local girls, resulting in rejection, and believe it or not, he's getting off easy. Though it turns out the girl he was hitting on was actually one of Holt's daughters, and with the help of one of the locals, learns where he lives, and Lou meets Holt and his family. And though it almost leads to Holt's boys putting a bullet in him, Lou is able to sample the product and seemingly get Holt interested in working with his boss. Though while talking to him, he also sees Holt's son, Enos, coming out of the woods, exhausted and covered in scratches. His sister Tempest, the one from before, comforts him, but also gives Lou the stink eye. Lou tries to ignore this and continue talking to Holt, and at first it looks like it's going pretty well, as he tries to convince Holt into transferring the Moonshine to New York. And at first he seems open, even showing Lou where they make it, only to reveal the dead agents, and him making it very clear he's not interested. Yeah, no big surprise who the werewolves are working for. Later that night, Lou's car gets a flat and encounters a gathering of people dancing and singing, but immediately stops when they see Lou. It's the 1920s, so a bunch of colored people are obviously gonna be on edge when they see a white guy just walking in on them trying to have some fun. But the tension dies down when Lou suggests having a drink with them, and it looks like things are going to go easy for him, but the next morning he is met by the town deputy, a man by the name of Kelly, who informs him that one of the men that helped him with his car the other night was found dead. Unfortunately, he doesn't seem to be interested because the man was black. Again, 1920s. Not a great time if you weren't white. Afterwards, Lou tries to convince 2 of Holt's men, his son Fry and his son-in-law Tucker, and they seem interested. It seems to be even piquing Tempest's interest. Tucker helps Lou try to smuggle the Moonshine and learns more about Tempest and her brother, particularly that they're actually adopted, and was about to learn more, but they are attacked and the car crashes. Lou would survive only to find Tucker begging for mercy from a beast in the shadows, with it only saying it was sorry, killing him and revealing itself to be a werewolf. He passes out, and after a twisted nightmare, wakes up to find himself under the care of Delilah, a woman he met during the night before. When Lou returns to the flat he was staying in, he is met by Joe's men, leading to things getting complicated. How complicated? Can Lou get out of this alive? Does Delilah know more about what she's leading on? And how did Holt get 2 werewolves as adopted children? Because yeah, it ain't a big twist that Tempest and Enos are the werewolves. Well, you're gonna have to read to find out. This comic's a slow burn, but a good one. It was written by Brian Azzarello, a writer who's kinda hit or miss with me. On one hand, he wrote the Kick-Ass 100 Bullet series and Flashpoint Batman, but on the other hand, he wrote stuff like Batman Damned and the Suicide Squad Get Joker, which, yeah, just don't. What about his Joker comic? Mixed bag for me. Here, however, this is a solid blend of gritty crime drama and a horror, though I'll repeat, it's a slow burn. And it's gonna spend a lot of time setting things up and building tension before we get into the blood and gore. But when it does come, it delivers. As for the characters, starting with Lou, when you first meet him, he comes off as the standard wise guy who thinks very little of the townspeople. But as the story progresses, we learn a lot about him, like his struggles with alcoholism and his guilt regarding what happened to his sister. Lou also kind of has some elements inspired by Harry Angel from the movie Angel Heart. In fact, that could be said for a lot of the characters. He begins to lose himself. Next we got Hiram Holt. To simply put it, he's a real son of a bitch. Holt wants control and is willing to kill and and destroy anything and anyone that gets in his way, even if it's his own family. He sees them as a means to an end. I was actually surprised he wasn't a werewolf given how savage he was, but nope, he's more of a monster than the actual monsters he's raised. Speaking of, Tempest is a bit of a mystery, as you never know what her goal is besides protecting herself and her brother. Sure, she shows loyalty to her father, but implies that loyalty will only go so far, and with Lou, it does at first look like they're going to do the enemies to lovers trope, but even then, you're not sure if she's genuine in her feelings. Last, for individual characters, we have Delilah. Similar to Tempest, there's uncertainty with her character, but not as much, as she does make it clear that she does everything for her family and wants to help Lou, but it's how she intends to do so being the concerning part. She's also the more spiritual character in the cast, as we learn she's a practitioner of magic, but how she uses it, well, much like most of her actions, though we know it's to help, we don't know to what extent. As for the rest of the cast, like Enos, the townspeople, the mob, or the rest of Holt's family, they're solid characters for the most part, but it's also pretty clear they're either here to get killed or set up later stories. We have Eduardo Russo on art, and made comic book fans familiar with Azarella's work wouldn't be surprised to see him, as Russo has done a lot of work with Azarello, like the aforementioned Flashpoint Batman and 100 Bullets. And yeah, his art was made for the gritty crime and horror. The gore looks horrific in a good way, and the werewolf designs are awesome and look like they could have been inspired by an American Werewolf in London. Werewolf design, which I dig. It's my favorite werewolf movie. On a whole, Moonshine is a solid werewolf comic, definitely something I would recommend to fans of gritty crime dramas. Though it may not be for everyone, because again, it does have a slow pace, but if it doesn't bother you, go ahead and check it out. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates. Next time, we'll be continuing the Halloween theme with a comic that will take you to the scariest place on Earth. Later.